Hello and welcome to the Words of Wooffles. I am your host, Wooffles, and welcome to my podcast. Now you might be wondering, who the fuck is Wooffles? I'm just a gal. I mean, you don't know me. This is my first thing I've ever created, so no one knows who I am. If there even happens to be a single soul listening to this. But if there is a single soul listening to this, then hello. Yeah, my name is Woofles. Not actually, but that's the name I'm choosing to use for my online persona, I suppose. So, yeah. Yeah, you don't know me, but stick around if you happen to stumble upon this, and we're just gonna have a chill, fun time. Or maybe not. I'm actually kind of in a ranty kind of mood. So it might not be a chill time. But should be fun. Maybe. Hopefully. That kind of depends on who's receiving these words. But what is this podcast going to be about? Nothing in particular. At least not at the moment. I think I'm just going to kind of talk about my life, random shit. Maybe some people out there will relate. Maybe it's just someone will find it entertaining, or maybe not. Doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of doing this for fun. But yeah, so today I kind of wanted to talk about the horrors of working at a chain pet store. If anyone out there works at a chain pet store, you understand. You get me. There is a lot to rant about. I'm not going to get into the specific store that I work at, just because, I don't plan on working here much longer, but just in case somehow it was traced back to me and I was talking shit, then, I don't want to lose my job yet. I don't want to get fired. Not that I even think that would happen, but I've heard of people posting on Reddit about their jobs at this particular pet store in question, and getting fired from it, which is pretty crazy. Again, I don't think my managers would do that to me, but just in case. I mean, whatever. Plus, I'm not going to try to give too much, super personal information. At least not, my name. So, whatever. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I am a manager at a chain pet store. I'm not, the manager. I'm not the store manager, but I am a manager, and let me tell you, that shit is hell. Not always. There are good parts about it. I actually really like the people I work with, and of course I love animals, so being around animals all day is pretty cool. But good lord, there's a lot of negatives. And that's what I'm gonna kind of get into today. So oh god, there's so many facets that I could talk about with this shit. But I guess the first one that I'll get into is customers. Oh my god. Do I despise interacting with customers? Not all of them. Of course, there are the good ones, which nowadays are seeming more and more few and far between. Is that the saying? Whatever. But there are good people who actually care about the pets that they own and actually want to provide them the life that they deserve. Those people do exist. But unfortunately, that seems to be the minority, which is quite sad. I don't understand. Why would you use your money to purchase an animal and then not do your best to provide that animal with a good life and care for it the way that it needs? I will never understand that. That's just a wild concept to me, because no one is making you get a pet. If you don't care about animals, that's fine. Just don't have one in your possession. Don't have one rely on you. Right? It's like having a child, but you hate children. You don't have to reproduce, If you're just gonna abuse it, just don't have it. god, it just really grinds my gears. Like, let me tell you, the worst kinds of customers that I have to interact with are goldfish customers and turtle customers. Oh my god. Like I see a lot of mistreatment of all different kinds of pets, but for some reason goldfish and turtles just seem to be the most common. I don't know. Well, no, I can guess why. So for goldfish, the reason why is because we sell feeder goldfish, they're called, because a lot of people buy them to feed like other pets like turtles or cichlids or whatever. And they are very cheap. We sell them the small ones, the quote small ones. They're all the same. They all eventually get to the same size, which is a foot long. Keep that in mind. But yeah, the small ones are 20 cents and the large ones are 22 cents. Like they are very cheap fish. So people who are stupid and don't care about fish, I guess they just don't even view fish as like a real life for some reason. I don't know why. Because they are in water. Like that makes them different from land animals, and they don't then need respect and care. I don't know. I'm not one of these people. I'm not in their minds. But those kind of people, they decide they want a pet that's, quote, easy and cheap, so they'll just buy some feeder goldfish and then decide to give it a life of suffering. Which is just great. Why not? Why not, right? It's only 20 cents. And that's what they always say. It's like, oh, I could just buy a new one when it dies. It's like, okay, I mean, yeah, sure. Like, is the price of an animal what makes its life meaningful? Like, I don't think that's how it works. If you rescue a dog off the street for free versus buying one at a breeder for like $1,000, is the one from the breeder more valuable? Like, no. And I don't think those people would agree with that. If they did, that's insane. But I think, like, even those people would be like, oh, yeah, no, a dog's a dog. Like, life matters regardless. But for some reason, a lot of those people, when it comes to goldfish, that's not how it works. It's like 20 cents, so therefore it could be abused, and that is okay. Or I guess a lot of times they probably don't even see it as abuse. Like, they don't even realize what they're doing. But, and that's one thing. If you don't realize that you're putting an animal in direct harm, that's fine. As long as you're willing to learn and change what you're doing once you're given the information that what you are doing is bad. And then you can be like, oh, shit, I didn't know that. My bad. And then adjust accordingly to give the animal what it needs because you bought it. It's in your care. And I have also come across customers like that. They'd have like a goldfish in like a bowl or some shit. And then I tell them that that's not okay. And then they'll actually like listen and go with my advice, which oh my god, that barely happens. That literally almost never happens. But it does sometimes happen. And I appreciate those people because it's like, even though they didn't do any prior research before getting an animal, which you always should, you should always be prepared for the care that you're going to have to provide an animal before you just go out and buy it willy-nilly. So even though they didn't do the prior research, at least they're now receptive to criticism and advice. That's okay to me. Not ideal, but like, it's fine. But then there's other people who are just completely unreceptive to any advice. And it's just like, oh, no, I don't want to hear it. It's fine. I've been having goldfish for years. They can live in a bowl. It's fine. And those people, oh my god. Like, just because something can live in horrible conditions doesn't mean it should live in horrible conditions. Like, you can lock up a Great Dane in a cage all day long, feed it, give it water, and like, it's gonna live. It's not gonna die, probably, but it's gonna be miserable. Like, obviously, right? So it's like when you have, and on the topic of goldfish, they are like one of the worst fish to have unless you are willing to do like a lot of work. Especially when we're talking about like the feeder goldfish, they're called comets, really. So a lot of people call them like common goldfish or like comet goldfish, whatever. But those in particular, like I said earlier, they will grow to a foot long. They produce a bunch of ammonia when compared to like tropical fish. And like, so yeah, I mean, it's really those two reasons mostly. Like, they are not good fish, beginner fish at all. Really, if you're gonna have those kind of fish as a pet, unless you have like a giant ass tank, like I'm talking like over 100 gallons, like they do best in like ponds. If you have a pond and you're getting some of those guys, that's great, wonderful. That's like exactly the kind of environment that they should have. But people don't do that almost ever. They want to get the smallest possible tank and cram however many fish they can into it. And it's just insane because it's like they don't have room to grow, which causes pain and suffering for them. And with like the insane amount of ammonia that they produce, like it will literally make the water so dirty so quickly that it's like burning their gills. Is like what it feels like for them. It's like they can't breathe without it like burning. So I mean that sounds great for the fish, right? Obviously not. But so many people are willing to do that just because they want a living thing to look at in dirty ass water in a ugly little bowl or like the small ass tank. Like it doesn't even look good. Like why would you want that? It's like, oh, and the worst is when they do it for their kids too. That's like almost always an excuse when I have to like reject a customer because I'm like, no, I'm not selling you 5 goldfish to put in a 5 gallon tank. Like, absolutely not. Like, what do you mean? And like one of the most like common excuses that they'll give is like, oh, but my 5-year-old son really wants it. Like they're only 20 cents. Just give them to me. Like, you want to make my son sad? And it's like, so you're teaching your son that it's okay to abuse a life because they just want to look at them at some fish, so it's okay to then like mistreat them? Like, is that a good lesson? I don't think it is. It's just, oh my god, it's crazy to me. It's so crazy. Like, there's other types of goldfish other than the feeders, like the fancy goldfish, and they aren't as bad. They don't get as big, and they don't, I mean, like, they're just, yeah, they don't require as much space. It's typically recommended as like a minimum of 20 gallons per fish, which is still a lot more than almost anyone is willing to get. I don't know why people just want the smallest tanks possible. And it's not like they're doing frequent water changes either, of course. You know, like, they probably do one a year, if that. Like, it's just, oh my god. This is really just getting into a fish keeping rant now. But yeah, if anyone who's listening has fish, like, you understand me, because there's just, like, people just do not understand that fish are, like, a lot of work if you actually want to give them a good life, which you should if you're buying them, because, again, it's life. Why wouldn't you? But yeah, like, you have to, like, clean the tank, you have to do water changes, like, you have to make sure that their tank is big enough for them, like, obviously, and it's just so many people just straight up don't care about that. Which, again, you don't have to care about the fish, then just don't buy it. Like, you either care about it and then you own it and take care of it, or you don't care about it and then you don't own it, so you don't have to take care of it. Those are 2 options, but so many people do not. That just doesn't compute, and it pisses me off. Oh my god, like, I had a woman not too long ago want to get, I think it was 10 goldfish for a bowl. Like, I'm not even kidding. And when I told her, like, absolutely not, she was like, oh, I'll just get a couple then. Like, kept trying to, like, bargain with me. I'm like, no. You would need a giant pond for that amount of goldfish? Like, what do you like? And I tell them all of this, like everything that they need, and they just look at me like, okay, I'll just take a couple, like with a blank ass stare. It's like, so you didn't like hear any of that? All right, cool. And don't even get me started on cycling tanks. Almost no one is receptive to advice on cycling a tank. Again, you probably don't even know about this unless like you own fish, but before a fish tank is ready to introduce fish to it, you have to cycle it. So basically what that means is there's like a nitrogen cycle process, and that's what like will keep your water parameters like where they're supposed to be. Like you still have to do water changes like weekly. Like 25% like water changes is like typically what's recommended depending on like the size of your tank. But like it like greatly like it provides an ecosystem basically so that the ammonia that's produced by your fish isn't going to become toxic so quickly. So like the way it works, when a fish produces ammonia like from waste, it it's then turned into nitrates, or no, sorry, I'm saying it wrong. Nitrites, which are then broken down to nitrates. When nitrates are way less toxic than nitrites or ammonia. So it's basically like the beneficial bacteria is breaking down the ammonia into a less toxic form, and it's kind of like a continuous cycle. So it's anytime there's like fish waste, it's broken down, and then water's fine, fish is happy. But it's like a process though, and people do not like anything that is a process. They want quick, easy, let me buy a tank and a fish same day, and it's like you cannot do that. It's because the tank is not ready for a fish. You have to make it ready. And if anyone did just a little bit of research, like they would see that, because it's not like Google isn't telling us that. If you Google it, like it will tell you how to cycle a tank and that you need to cycle a tank, but people just don't research. They don't care, and it's crazy to me. But yeah, like it takes like a while, like at least like a week, and you have to like it's a whole process. You have to build up the ammonia and then have the bacteria. Like it's a whole thing. I don't need to really get into all the details, but yeah, like almost no one, like even people who like aren't like super don't give a fuck about the fish, like there's still a very small percent of those people who are willing to like actually go through the cycling process, and like I'll like describe it to them, but it's like they don't even want to hear it. It's just like, yeah, whatever, like it's fine. It's like, I mean, it's not fine, but sure, okay. Clearly like you're not going to listen to what I'm saying, so it's pointless. But yeah, so yeah, that's that on goldfish customers. God, they're awful. So awful. But then the other one that I mentioned was turtle customers. God. Jesus Christ. They are they worse or just as bad? Probably just as bad. Yeah, I would say they're about equal. They're both so awful. So, first of all, at least in the state that I live in, it's actually illegal to sell turtles as pets. At least like the standard like aquatic turtle that people tend to buy, like the red ear sliders. Um, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure the reason why is because people would like buy them and then like release them into the wild, which is like you're never supposed to do that with a pet, obviously, because it's not a wild animal, and they're like invasive. So I think it was like fucking with like wildlife or something. So I think that's why it's legal. Don't quote me on that, but anyway. I know at least like at the pet store I work at, like we do not sell aquatic turtles. We sell tortoises, but that's like a whole different thing. But flea markets still sell them. I don't know why they don't have to go through the same regulations or whatever. I don't know exactly how that works, but they don't, evidently. And they will sell these turtles in like the tiniest little like plastic containers, like barely any room to move, like just like a small amount of water in there, a tiny little baby turtle, and like a plastic container. And the people who buy these turtles, it's almost always just like a last minute decision. Like, all right, like we're at a flea market. Look at these adorable tiny little baby turtles. Let's get a pet turtle. Of course, again, not doing any prior research into how to care for them or anything like that, because, I mean, why would they, right? People, am I right? Humans, Jesus. But, yeah, so they'll just buy them on a whim, and then the craziest part to me is that they think that the tiny little plastic container that they come in is like a suitable home. I've seen it multiple times. Like people will bring their turtle in that tiny. When I'm saying tiny, I mean like fucking like 5 inches long. Like not a tank at all. Like just a tiny little plastic carrier. And people will take their little baby turtles in that carrier into the pet store, and like it's not like they just bought them. Like the turtle's been living in there for, I think like the worst one I heard was like a year. They had the turtle in there for a year, and like I was trying to like help them like pick out like an actual tank and tell them like all the stuff that they need for the turtle, which they haven't even gotten like for that whole year. I don't even know how it was still alive, honestly. Like no lights, no like anything. Like it was just insane to me. And like oh, it just made me so sad because they had it with them as if like it was like a little girl with her mom, and like the little girl was just holding this little turtle, like carrying it around. It's like, does she just bring it everywhere as like a little like accessory? Like that's what it seemed like. Like it didn't even seem like they viewed it as like a pet. It's like an accessory. And I just, oh my god, I felt so bad for it. Like I actually like wanted to cry trying to like help them like pick out shit that they needed. And of course, like everything I was telling them that they needed, they were like, "Oh, that's too expensive. That's too much. I don't want like a big tank like that." Like, and it's like, okay, so like, I'm telling you what the animal needs. Like, oh my god, what do you? Oh, it's just it makes me so sad. And I think if that like the small sample size that I interact with, if so many people are like that, like just think about like the absurd amount of people like that like in the whole world. Like there's gotta be like just so many pets that are being abused, and it's like it's depressing. Like that really is like my least favorite part of working at a pet store is just like realizing like how many people just are abusing animals. Like it's so sad. It makes me so sad. Like it's one of the main reasons why I'm trying to get out of here soon. Cuz like when I don't have to interact with customers, like I'm chilling. I'm straight chilling. Like it's fine. But it's the interacting with customers that just like it pisses me off. I cannot deal with it. So yeah, oh my god, goldfish and turtle customers, the worst kind of people. Anyone out there actually takes care of goldfish or turtles properly, good for you. Because it seems like you're one of the only ones. Which is just so sad. Like, oh my god. Okay, so yeah, that was my first part of my rant of pet stores, the customer part. I guess the next thing that I'll talk about is then how the pet store itself treats our animals, which is also not great. Not great at all, actually. And that's another, like, those are like the two main reasons why I don't want to work in my job anymore. It's because of the customers that abuse animals and that pet stores do not treat animals the way that they should be treated either. And when I say that, it's if you ever like are in a pet store and like you see like the main thing, the betas in the cups. Yeah, I work at one of those that have the betas in these tiny ass little cups. If you see something like that, like you should never get mad at like the people working there, because like at least like in my experience, like I know I really care and love animals, and like the people I work with are the same way, and like we all do our best to like care for the animals the best that we could given like the corporate limitations. So it's really not like, I mean, at least, where I work, it could be different at other stores. I'm sure there are people who also work at pet stores and just don't give a shit about the animals that they're caring for. But generally speaking, I would imagine that the workers themselves do care and they're doing their best. But it's corporate policy shit that is what causes so many issues, because they literally like tell us what we can and can't do, and like, yeah, like we don't have like a say in that. Trust me, I wish I did. I wish that I could change the way we treat some of our animals, because I don't think they're all bad, or at least there's different levels of bad. Because you also have to keep in mind that like they're meant to be temporary, like the habitats that we have them in. So for some of them as a temporary habitat, I don't think they're too bad. But other ones, like as I mentioned before, the betas, like are just awful, like just so inhumane. And like, you know how many betas die where I work, like daily? Like I can't give like an exact number, it really like varies, but like I, probably an average of like 5 probably a day die because they are in a tiny little cup, no filtration, no anything, no barely space to swim, like. And there's a lot of like misconceptions about betta fish. I mean, there's misconceptions about every kind of fish, so of course, right? But like, they are like one of the fish that could, like, they don't need a lot of space. But it's recommended to have at least 5 gallons, like minimum, which is like a pretty small tank, but like compared to like what a lot of other fish need. But people think that they could just be put in like the tiniest bowl you've ever seen that you'd eat like cereal out of, and that they're gonna like survive in there, and like they might survive in like quotes, but they are not thriving at all. Like, they are suffering in there. Like, they still require a lot of care. Just because they don't need like a whole lot of room doesn't mean that they don't still need like specifics, like a heater and a filter and like all that shit. But people think that they don't, and I think a large reason that people think that they don't is because we have them in the tiny ass cups. So it's like, oh, this fish is clearly alive in this cup that is like not even a 1/10 of a gallon, probably. I don't even know how much they are, but they're tiny. So then customer sees that, and it's like, oh, okay, so clearly that's all it needs to live, I guess. It's like, no, they're definitely suffering in those cups. Like, if you test the water in those cups, like the ammonia and nitrate levels will be crazy high, and it's just like, it makes me so sad. Like, you really have to, like, if you're like me, working at a pet store like that, you have to just like mentally disconnect from it, like, in order to like just keep working. Like, that's like literally what I've like learned to do, because like when I first started working here, it was 3 years ago. Oh my god, that's crazy. It's been too long. Wait, no, has it been 3 years? Oh my god, wait, yeah, or 2? No, it's been 2.5 years. It's been 2.5. Okay, all right. had to get that straight. But yeah, like when I first started working, like whenever I'd have to like clean out like the beta cups, or like, like just look at them, like just pass them, I would like, it would make me so depressed. Like, I just felt so bad for the little fish, and it's like I could like barely do it without like crying, because like I just felt so awful for them. But like over the years, like I've literally learned to just not, you just have to not think about it, because like if I think about it too much, like I can't do it. I literally like will just cry. So it's like, it's kind of sad. It's like I care so much about animals, but I'm being forced to like act as if it's cool and fine that we treat them the way we do because I don't have any control over it. Like, none of us do. Like, I would love to put the betas in, like if they could have even, like, half-gallon tanks with, like, a filter and a heater, like, in the pet store, like, that would be great. And I've seen that with, like, smaller pet stores. Like, that's not bad at all. Like, at least they have, like, a filter and a heater. Like, but the little cups, the water gets cold, like, the ammonia builds up. It's awful. It's just so awful. So, yeah, and of course, like, other pets too, like, do not get, like, what they need. Like, it's just, I could go into, like, every single pet that we sell and, like, describe what would be better, but the betas are probably the most heinous in my opinion. I think it's insane having them in the cubs, and, like, God. If you're listening to this, you should reach out to corporate of chain pet stores and yell at them and try to get them to change their policies. Maybe if enough people do it. I mean, not as if, like, a lot of people are listening to this. Like, they're definitely not. But just, you know, on a whim. I'm not on a whim. What am I saying? I don't know. Just in case there were a lot of people and some rare chance, then yeah. Yeah, I would just love things to change. And if enough people did say some shit, maybe it would. Still probably not, though, because, like, and that's the thing. I'm getting so flustered. Corporate only cares about money. I mean, of course, like, it's the same with every company. But with most companies, it's not as much of a moral problem because the company isn't, like, caring for and selling animals, like, you know. But when you are caring for and selling animals, like, you would think you should care about those lives, but, like, I am telling you, like, they do not. All they care about is making money. They want to sell as many pets as possible to whoever, and they want to provide the least amount of care that they can to keep the animal, like, healthy enough, basically. And that's not even with fish. That's, like, with other pets. With fish, like, they clearly just don't give a shit at all. Because, like, not only do we, like, lose a lot of, like, betas from them dying due to being in a fucking cup, but, like, other fish too. Like, fish die all the time. And, like, of course, like, that could just happen, like, shock or whatever, but I'm sure most of the time it's because, like, the tanks that they're in are too small and, like, aren't being filtered properly. Like, we have, like, a filtration system for each, like, section of tanks or whatever, but, like when I test the water, it tends to not be the levels it should be at. Like, because what it should be is 0 ammonia, 0 nitrates, and then no more than, like, 40 nitrates. Well, I'm saying, like, random numbers. I'm not even providing a unit, but that's, like, the ppm, parts per million. So yeah, no ammonia, no nitrates, and some nitrates are fine. But that's never how it is because they're not in proper conditions. But so yeah, to recap, customers abuse pets, and that depresses me, and I hate dealing with that. And then pet stores themselves also mistreat pets, and I also hate that because I almost feel complicit in it as a worker there. But, like, I do the best I can, you know? Like, I've tried to give the animals as much love as I'm, like, able to, you know? But, like, they ask so much shit of us to do. It's like I don't even have time sometimes to, like, do everything that I need to do. Or I just stay hours after, and it's like, oh, great, it's not like I have a life outside of work or anything. Guess I'll just live here now, alright, why not? Because, of course, we're also, like, I would say understaffed, but understaffed implies that, like, we're, like, needing more people. Like, we have as many people working at a time that we're supposed to, but that amount is only 3. There are 3 people working at a time for so many different tasks that need to be done. And it's just insane. It's just so insane. It's just stressful. So yeah, not only is it like the animal stuff, but it's also just like they just ask so much of you. And it's like I'm one person. Like, and I'm not getting paid enough to do all this extra shit. Like, I'm literally not. Like, crazy thing, like, one of like the managers that I work with, she will sometimes work off the clock because there's so much work that has to be done, and like, but also like there's a limited amount of hours that we get. So she will like sometimes like come in for hours and work not getting paid. That's insane to me. Like, obviously, like, she's not being asked to do that, but if she didn't do that, then shit wouldn't be done, and then she would probably get yelled at for it not being done. So, like, still, if I were her, I would never do that shit, because that's just wild to me. Like, I'm here to make money. It's a fucking job. Like, what do you mean? Like, I would never work for a second without getting paid. But, like, I see why she does it. It's, like, because there's so much to do. It's just, it's crazy. It's so crazy. Oh, fuck chain pet stores. That's the moral of this podcast, I suppose. Of this episode. This isn't going to be what the whole podcast is about. This is kind of just the first rant that I wanted to go on. But, yeah. I'll end this with a bit of positivity, since I've been talking about a lot of depressing stuff about how abused so many pets are. But now I'll kind of talk about my pets, because I don't abuse my pets. I love them very much, and they are my babies, and I would literally die for them. I would do anything for them. So I'll just talk about them real quick. I have a kitty cat, and his name is Gumball, and he's a very good boy. He's a white and black cat, a tuxedo cat, if you will, and I got him off the streets. It was at the old apartment I used to live at. There were like stray cats like everywhere around there, and he was just chilling outside my apartment one day. First time I ever saw him. I like just got back from work, and I was like, "Hey, bud, you want to come up?" And sure enough, I started walking up the stairs to my apartment, and he just follows me right into my apartment. I was like, "Bet, got a new cat now." Like, that was literally it. I'm like, "All right, cool." Took him to get his like flea medication and all that, because he was infested with fleas. He had some cuts on him, but took him to the vet, got him all fixed up, and now he's my baby boy, and I love him so much. And he's such a sweet kitty, the sweetest. I'll probably tell this story another time, but my first cat that I had, which I actually was like shortly before Gumball, she was taken from me by my evil ass bitch of an ex-roommate. So yeah, I don't feel like getting to all that right now, but maybe in the next one. So yeah, that's a story. That's quite a story. Lots of stories to be told. But yeah. And yeah, shortly after that bitch stole my cat, I got Gumball. He just kind of stumbled into my life, and it's like a gift from God, if I were to believe in God, which I do not. But if I were, he would definitely be a gift from God. And he's just the cutest, sweetest little boy. And, of course, I also have my bearded dragon. She was actually my firstborn. She was my first child. And her name is Haku, which is, more of a male name, which is because I thought she was a male when I got her as a little baby, but turns out she's a female. But of course, I'm not going to change her name. Her name is Haku. That's who she is. And if you're familiar with those two characters, my kind of theme with naming my pets is after cartoon characters. So of course, if you know the show, The Amazing World of Gumball, that's where Gumball is named after, because he's a cat, and Gumball is a cat in the show. So, you know. And then Haku is named after the boy slash dragon from Spirited Away. If you've seen that movie, great movie, one of my all-time favorites. And yeah, since he's a dragon, and Haku, the bearded dragon, is a dragon of sorts, she is named after that. And yeah, she is also adorable and amazing. Unfortunately, she is not a rescue. I did buy her from a pet store. Not the one I work at, a different one actually. This was before I started working at like where I work. But yeah, I didn't really know the implications of buying a pet from a pet store at the time. And I just wanted the bearded dragon, so I got her as a tiny little baby. She was so precious and cute. You know, she's a big girl. And yeah, I recently got her a new tank, and I'm in the process of getting some more decorations for her to climb on and stuff. And yeah, she's such a sweet little girl. And yeah, I love her and Gumball very much, and I would do anything for them. What was I talking about? Oh, I was just telling you about my babies, yeah. So, not everyone hates their animals. A lot of people do love them, like me, and I do my best to take care of them. And I also have a fish tank. However, very sadly, my beta died. I had a beta fish, and his name was Ponyo, and he was adorable. He only had one eye. I adopted him from where I work. We're not allowed to like sell like quote deformed animals, and since he only had one eye, I was able to adopt him. And he was a very good boy. He's a very good fishy, but unfortunately he developed dropsy, and I really tried to save him, but if you know anything about dropsy, it's like very deadly. There's a very small chance of being able to save a fish, and it can be caused from like a lot of different things. So I don't really even know what caused it, but I did my weekly water changes and I tried my best. So yeah, if you can't tell, I feel bad that happened. But I still have the tank. I don't have a beta in it currently. I'll probably try to adopt one again eventually, but as of right now, I just have some shrimp and 2 snails in there. And I also love them. The shrimp don't have names because at this point, I'm not even sure how many are in there. It's kind of hard to tell. I have a bunch of plants and stuff. So it would be a little difficult to name them. They also all kind of look the same. They're all ghost shrimp, so like, yeah, I don't really know who's who. But I did name the 2 snails, and they're named Snelly and Marcel. Of course, Snelly is named after the girl snail from SpongeBob, Squidward's snail in that episode where they're like racing them. So that's what she's named after. And then Marcel is named after, if you've seen the movie Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, great movie if you haven't. Love that movie. It's so cute, so sad, but so wholesome. It's like a sad wholesome. It's also like happy. It's not that sad. It just makes me sad. I don't know. It's very cute. But yeah, that's what he's named after. So Snelly and Marcel, and Gumball and Haku. Those are my babies. I love them so much, and I'm thinking about adding someone to the family sometime soon. Perhaps a leopard gecko, maybe? Still trying to decide. If anyone has any recommendations, let me know. I currently have a 40-gallon tank that's being unused, so I kind of want to use that for, again, maybe a leopard gecko? I don't know. Maybe a tarantula. I gotta some thinking to do. But yeah, I think that's probably a good place to end the first episode of the Words of Wooffles. That name is maybe subject to change, but I kind of like it. So yeah, if you've made it this far, then thank you for listening. I don't know why you did, but I appreciate it. And stay tuned for more in the future. And I'll take any suggestions or, questions or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, thanks. And have a great day. I don't know how to end this thing. Goodbye.